This morning, we learned that when we talk about psychological priming, it involves subtly influencing behavior and mindsets so that security becomes more intuitive for our employees and becomes part of basically their digital lives. So this afternoon with our panel, we'll talk about, let's see how we can make that happen in our organizations. So we'll jump right into it. First question for our panel. What role does the leadership and the management play in reinforcing prime security behavior, especially in employees? And if I may, maybe I'll ask Edison to start with this because I heard you talk about your management being so
Right,
supportive
right.
in your
True.
speech.
It's true. Working with the doctors, clinicians, of course, they're more after patient management, right? The more you restrict them, they don't care about cybersecurity breaches. They want to make sure that they take care of their patients. So implementing a multi-factor authentication is another hurdle for them. And this is where they ask me, can we remove that? So there's no way. It's just a good thing that no less than our chairman herself was very particular in cybersecurity. So I just used her name and then that's it. Everyone kept quiet.
Yung
So
line.
exactly. Plus, of course, the one implementing it with a degree. I mean, I have to give this to Isaka. The moment they know that you are certified information security certified, then they'll more or less believe on what you tell them because you're just there for the protection of the entity.
Thank you. Maybe I'll jump to the other end to Cyril. What are your thoughts on the role of management and leadership here?
Yeah, actually, the leadership plays the vital role in the cybersecurity space, right? Because they are the ones actually setting the tone. They are the ones that really let them, the user, understand why we are doing this, right? So it's like we need from the leadership, like constantly communicating with the users, because again, what I mentioned earlier, to the normal users, they don't really realize, they don't really value why we are here, right? Unless there's like an incident or a breach already happened, right? So the leaders, the management, we are the models, right? We are the ones that sending the message to all of the users and the people. Well, not just the organization, but even in our family, right? We keep on educating them. Educate, like the know before earlier, that educate, educate. So that's one thing that needs to be done, and be done by the, of course, the leaders, because they're the one that needs to be followed, right?
Oh, yes, please, Jermaine.
Hello. Yeah. I think another one is, of course, the success of priming strategy is actually hinged into the leadership active participations, right? Of course, it actually legitimize it, and at the same time, it's also amplify it, right? And changing the subconscious nudge into a conscious value or behavior. Yeah, so I think the leaders in management participation is really important. And if there's no support with, of course, with the strategy, of course, it will fail. So any design, best design will fail if there's no support from the management. Yeah.
Right, that's true. But now, actually, here's a question that I actually found quite interesting. Because when you have all of these initiatives happening, right, it can get overwhelming for people. So how can priming be integrated to the already existing awareness initiatives without desensitizing employees and, getting, them starting to feel that it's overwhelming? Maybe I could start with David.
Sure. Well, I come at this from the human psychological side of things. So, look, like anything, priming, you don't want to have fatigue. And the one thing in which will help with AI is that we should only be priming people for the behaviors they need priming for. If we're priming them for everything, well, then that gets quite tiresome. So over time with AI, we know that someone might be prone to a certain behavior we don't want. And that's where they should be primed. But in other areas, if they don't need that coaching, which is essentially what priming is in the moment, maybe do less there. So I believe, and the company believes very strongly in one size does not fit all. It's how can we get things down to the departmental level and to the individual level to avoid that sort of fatigue.
Right, and Bala?
Yeah, in fact, like of the things that I want to add on the department side, right? So in my previous organization, we had a very specific priming program created for each of the department because they were being able to pull the information from the HR system saying that which department that you belong to, and the program has been configured for that. And a finance person will be getting something which is very specific for the finance, and the HR or the others. Sales people will be getting especially what it is required from the sales side. So it has been very effective. So other thing is like the fatigue part is like they've been tracking how the progress has been on the fixing on the some of the activities. If the fishing activity has been going up, they were able to incorporate that one in the existing training program than creating a new program. And something that they are getting really better, like 95% efficiency has been achieved. They've been able to go and put it a little bit behind, but they've been able to bring in something which is more burning at this moment.
All right. So, but when we go, of course, when we invest in our trainings and in our priming activities, of course, the next question is it working? Is it effective? So I'll keep this open to everyone. So how would you measure the effectiveness of these priming techniques in shaping the cybersecurity culture of the organization over time?
I'll add,
Sure, go ahead.
one. So I come from the vulnerability management background. And in my organization, there has been a very conscious effort in saying that, what is, we need to patch within a specific time period. So there has been a gaming activity saying that how you're doing the patching, how many days. Another thing is like the way that we've been measuring was like, what is the mean time to patch for that? The department, the person who has been doing better, there used to be a leaderboard which we have been presented on. And I think the gamification of this one was really, a driving factor. Everyone wanted to have their name during the all hands saying that who is doing better and just see the motivation behind that, right? So that is something that we have seen it, working as well. So the way that you can track how it is been performing from the priming perspective.
Love that. I love that. And the thing is, it's about how do you motivate people, right? And now, first of all, but to answer the question about measuring, you need a baseline, don't you? So depending on what you're measuring, we need to start with the baseline. And then from the baseline, how are we able to see how we're doing over time? Now, when it comes to, we're all about the training and then the priming and then the testing. And for us, testing is primarily around phishing. So we see, has the priming and the testing had its effect by over time that what we call a fish-prone percentage will drop down. And then we have risk scores. And like you said, which I love, is we have risk scores by department, but all the way down to the individual. And it can have some friendly competition, especially if you let people know about it. Or if you can, with a little bit of budget, some little prizes for the people that are doing better. And it creates camaraderie. And that comes down to culture, doesn't it? Right? If you really want something to be driven from top down, everyone has to be involved, and everyone should be celebrating other people's wins along the way.
All right. Thank you. Edson, anything you want to add to that?
That's so true. I mean, that's basically what I'm planning to do as well. I mean, to test them on like who's going to click this email link and then get all the scores assessment. So it can be a carrot or stick approach, right? So it depends on how you want things get done fast. But that is one of the things that I am really planning to do so as well. But apparently, unfortunately, again, despite all these cybersecurity breaches, incidents being reported left and right, still users get to be still tricked by this. They're get better. I mean, the scrupulous people, but there should be a way for us to again make them aware and conscious. Really, it's hard to achieve that level of assurance for the entity that we're okay already, given that, again, as mentioned a while ago, how AI is now really revolutionizing even how to trick users. So they're getting better and better as well.
All right. Yes, Jermaine.
I think for me also, we also need to consider, of course, feedbacks and interviews, group interviews. We need to understand what are their inputs as well. No? Because of course, leaders should know how to reach the heart of their people, right? So yeah, I think that's another thing that we should also consider.
All right, maybe Cyril, you can wrap it up with
Yeah,
with this one.
just to add up with this gentleman says, I agree with them. But another thing I think is for you to measure the effectivity, you need to set a goal, and then after the goal, you need to set the metrics, the one that this gentleman mentioned earlier. So, and then from there, you will be able to see like if there's like a drop from the baselining, and then from there, you will be able to see if it's the process, the techniques, or the activities that you're doing, if it's really effective. So you will see from there. It's just that you need to set a goal so that you won't be able to, parang medyo magulo. If it's like there's no goal with what you are trying to
There has to be
achieve.
that direction also. What do you want to get
Yes.
out of this?
Yes.
Right? Okay. I hope everyone's taking notes on because these are already execution steps we're talking about, right? Now, mindful of our time, we'll go to our last question for the panel at least. What future trends do you see in the use of behavioral science to drive cybersecurity culture?
Yeah, actually,
go
so
ahead.
true nowadays, right? Before, again, one of the things like being done earlier days is just to put antivirus, put firewall and so forth. But nowadays, as mentioned a while ago, 75% are still within the employees level. So behavior is like really the ones being monitored now. And there are like platforms, which we'll be using soon, on how to actually analyze the behavior of users. So really, it's one of the governance now, or I should say, standard now, is to combat cybersecurity breaches, is to actually deploy behavioral study as well.
Thank you. Would any of you would like to add?
Happy
Yes.
to add, specifically because you said behavioral science. So it is all based on psychology and how we learn as human beings. I don't know if any of you have kids, but we all were kids at one point, weren't we? You know, when you burned your hand on a stove, you didn't do that twice, did you? Now you learned because there was an action and a result that was immediate.
Right.
So what we found is, and there are three components of training, and then the testing, right? What we need to be able to do is that when something is done, or priming was the word I was looking for, which is the topic of this entire discussion, we need to be able to act on that behavior right away, but then also train in a way that people understand. We also know anyone that went to university, I'm a civil engineer, can I build a bridge right now? No, I don't remember how to. Had I learned a little bit every month about certain topics, a little bit a week, little snippets, that's how we learn. So we have to make it engaging and fun in a way that encourages everyone to learn in the way that they like. And then also the priming lets them know on the spot that this is something you might want to look out for. And it's the best way for us to be able to learn and to mitigate all these risks that we're trying to mitigate.
Yes, Bala.
So one of the things that I've been seeing is like, the behavior is also driving the, what you should be going through the training. The way that I'm doing the things should also trigger, I see your activities like this, so I think you should be taking the training on this one. Do you want to go through this? And other thing is like, especially in my organization, one of the things that I'm seeing is like the more and more training that you do, as I mentioned earlier as well, there is a leaderboard where you said like, the number of trainings that they've been doing, they are the leaderboards. Who is the leader for this month from the training perspective, the completion and all those stuff is also something driving. So one is like behavior going to drive through the AI saying that, recommendation, what you should be doing it. And obviously the more and more training that you do, the incentive for you is like being on the leaderboard. And if there is a budget, we should go and incentivize them as well for that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree with the behavioral analytics, plus infuse it with AI so that it can automatically, tailor fit the trainings modules that will be handled to the employee. And at the same time, it should be also part of the workflows. Like, for example, when they're doing some, configuration, responding to an incident, there will be an AI that will be also assisting them on how to do the best respond and the best practices that they should also consider. Yep.
All right, thank you. Obviously, 20 minutes isn't enough, but thank you very much for answering all of those questions. And to wrap it up, just really the key takeaway is we want the secure choice to be almost the easiest and automatic choice for everybody, right? That's the ideal end state. So Yes.
All right, so that is it about our panel discussion. We have to say though for the question and answer. All right, so we'll be flashing the QR code as promised, and when you do have your question, please scan the code and type in your question. All right, so we have a question right now. We're checking, and this is our QR code. Now, I need to remind you to take advantage of the fact that we have these great minds with us today, and we get to, tweak those brains a little bit, have a little bit of discussion. So, if I were you, I would take full advantage of that, because if you want to do that on your own time, you will call them consultants and you'll have to pay, right? All right. So, do we have any questions right now? Okay, we have one. So, I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. How can priming techniques be adapted for remote or hybrid work environments? Now, do we have anybody who wants to answer first?
All right, how can priming days be? As presented a while ago, Manila Doctors was basically not ready for such hybrid. The applications, even the medical devices were really designed for on-premise work. So what I did was basically again, like I cited a real case, use case wherein I moved the billing people and the hospital, the HR to another building, and that more or less gave perspective on how the hybrid, meaning a remote work. So you can do like really a small step approach, assuming that you are not ready there yet. Even your core applications are not designed for such. You may try doing baby steps to actually move. But the most important in a hybrid setup is actually the discipline. You need to have kind of measurements of the same output that most Filipinos are used to before the COVID, that the output will actually be very tangible. But with the hybrid setup now, everything has to be output oriented. It's nothing tangible on a day-to-day basis, but can be on a weekly or regular meeting. So these are the things that you really need to prepare with. Again, the policies and procedures will have to be in place for consistency and for further improvements later on. At least you have a base foundation on how to start having or adapting that in your work environment.
Thank you so much. And I believe you speak from experience when you say all those things. All right. And do we have any other insights from our group?
Yeah, maybe just want to add the techniques that can be adopted for hybrid workforce is to embrace or adopt the digital form of educating the users, because at some point when you do hybrid, technically the users are not in the office to really understand if there's like a security update or a cybersecurity awareness. We might want to adapt or utilize by continuously sending security awareness through possibly the emails, or if we have like these social platforms internally, then we can leverage that as well. Yeah.
All right. Great advice. Thank you so much. Any other inputs regarding this question before we move on?
Just a very quick one that remote sometimes means international, like you're dealing with different cultures.
Correct.
So what resonates in Philippines may not in Japan. So it's how you deliver that same message. It's still on message, but in a way that would resonate with those people versus people in other parts of the world.
All right. Thank you so much. And is it safe to say we can move on to the next question? All right. And the next question is, do we have any standards in securing agentic AI systems? Again, do we have any standards in securing agentic AI systems? Now, do we have anybody from the group who wants to answer that question? All right, Vala, go ahead. Take a shot.
So I don't know if I just want to address it from the priming perspective, but when you look into the agentic AI, I wanted to share one statistics and then try to say like, what will be. I don't think there is any specific framework has come up as such, but the number of agents like, agentic, identities, non-human identities to the human identities it is 1 to 17. It was last year. It is going to be much more this year and obviously coming years. So what I wanted to highlight here is like when we are going for the, especially from the agentic AIs, one of the framework it will be around how do we manage those identities and how we go and give the permissions and what are the data that they can ask and what the information that they can consume and not consume. I think that will be one of the most key features that will be coming from the agentic AI perspective, because you can create a rogue agent AI and they can try to go and get any information from your side. So one of the things is, as I said, managing the identities from the non-human identities perspective will be one of the key things going forward from the agentic AI.
All right, thank you. And yes, Jermaine?
Hello. I think at the minimum, we should have, of course, understand what is the main functions of this agent and what are the data that being accessed by this agent. Understand how it works and understand the behavior. And if this, if let's say, if the behavior is something that not usual or something that we don't expect, I think that's something that we should, of course, check. Yeah, at the minimum. Yep.
I understand. So that's actually the standard safeguards that you have to use for yourself. You applied as well. All right. So any other inputs that we have? Okay. If not, we're gonna pick another question because we have 5 minutes on the clock. So my next question is: how should organizations balance proactive exposure management with traditional vulnerability management practices, especially when resources are limited?
Maybe I'll take that one.
All right, go ahead,
coming
Bala.
from my one. So, one of the things again, as I mentioned earlier as well, I highlighted is like when we need to go and look at the vulnerability management, we should not just be looking at the unpatched vulnerabilities as such. Any weakness that I'm leaving it, which can be exploited, which by an adversary, should be something that we need to do it. And there is a lot of education has to go there. A lot of times, because of our convenience, what we do is like we go and try to stop some of the security agents that are running on our laptops. And I think that, we need to go and educate our users, saying that you should not be doing it. Obviously, we need to go and put some controls there. A lot of controls are there, but some of the users will have that flexibility. So we need to make sure that we are educating the customer, users, saying that what they should be doing and not should be doing it from the controls perspective. Second is, like, as I mentioned earlier, there was a leaderboard from the patching perspective. We need to go and have a education for our users, saying that you need to keep your sets patched, you need to keep your applications patched, and for that one, obviously, incentivizing will be is like keeping a leaderboard, tracking who is doing better. So that way we can keep not, a user as responsible for patching the systems as well and address on the exposure management part.
Okay, thank you. So I believe that's a lot of education. And that is what we need actually if we want to evolve, right? So go ahead, Edison.
Yeah, I'm taking this off from the user perspective. I believe if you have a budget, you hire your own security personnel because it's still different. Like if the organization will be vendor driven, of course, they will promote their security solution. But if you have an organic, what's important here is like empathy to the organization. Really know what's the priority, what are the current investments, what investment can still be used as part of the cybersecurity approach. So you will be able to achieve that if you have an organic personnel. Pure work is basically to ensure security of the organization. Again, security will definitely entail investments. And there are other investments that the organization will have to face with. So we need to be sure, take the baby steps, what can still be used and what needs to be changed or updated. So those are critical if you have your own organic IT security personnel.
All right, thank you so much. And do you have other inputs regarding this question?
I was going to, but then I think we're all excited to jump on that next question.
What's the next question? You may
As
choose the
VP
next
of
question.
Sales, how to spend your money if you have extra money.
Where is
All
that?
right, I think we'll all have a go at this one, won't we? Look, okay, but to be agnostic, I would just look at where's your greatest attack surface. Oh, in another way, where are you going to get the biggest bang for your buck? All right? It's going to be different for everyone in this audience. You have strengths and weaknesses that you need to fill and have a look at, well, where you're going to have the biggest risk and how to address that one I would add quickly, though, to the last question, which says when resources are limited, it's related to this, it's budget.
Correct.
People, if you want to look at how do you get more budget, one thing I highly recommend you can try is you do a pre-mortem. Post-mortem is when the you-know-what hits the fan and everything blows up and you're in the newspapers and you have got your brand is hurt and you spent millions of dollars. Look at that in advance as a pre-mortem and say, this is what will happen if we don't do A, B, and C, and then have a look and see the reaction you'll get about getting more budget. But I'll hand the mic over.
All right, go ahead.
For me, as David has mentioned about the post-mortem, right, pre-mortem, I'll also go and put the budget on the pre-mortem side. It's not just because of the thing, but I always prefer saying that, prevention is better than the cure. The more I put in preventing the things and having the things that I have invested already, making that one work, either through additional resources or additional tools, I'll go and put the money there. But I want to make my existing investments go further and work better for me, because it is already an investment that I've done. If I have to get a resource, I'll put money there and make sure that training is the one which I'll put more money on.
It's probably more cost efficient as well, right? The prevention better than the cure. All right, so we have other inputs.
Yeah, I think I would agree with of course, the training, the people, enabling the people, of course, with, for example, such an incident bond. But mostly, what I'll usually do is actually assessments, right? Right now, what we need to understand, what is the environment, what are the peoples are doing, and what are the weakness, right? And based on those weakness, probably those are the things that we also need to prioritize and put some budget on.
All right, so we have one last question. And okay, I will give you guys a liberty to answer the question that you like to make this discussion more engaging. Okay, can we choose how can conglomerates unify and scale cyber defense across diverse business units without sacrificing agility? All right, so whose mic is it first? Go ahead, Edison.
Yeah, like I mentioned a while ago, one good thing about conglomerates, at least the intention of the conglomerates is to establish a standard way of handling this. Now, I belong in a conglomerate. My focus, being the head of IT, is basically to troubleshoot, firefighter, preventive maintenance, and so forth, to the point that I'm so overwhelmed with the day-to-day task. Now, if we have someone from the conglomerate who will be the one leading the cybersecurity, like a CISO, then he will be now my input to actually deploy it in my own business entity. So we need that kind of person in conglomerate, again, for uniformity as well as for cost efficiency. So if we can deploy that in one conglomerate, one company, instead of one company to the rest of the organizations, then it'll be more cost effective as well.
That is true. And any other inputs?
Okay. Probably for me, it's more on the strategy of the organizations. Like, for example, right now, what are the current initiatives, right? Like, for example, if you're doing your hybrid workforce, you're doing cloud at the same time, you might consider approach like platformizations, right? Where everything is interconnected, so it become very seamless when it comes, accessing stuff, accessing assets and protecting them as well. Because with that approach, it's actually balance the access to the network and also balance the security portions. And of course, it also promotes employees' productivity. Yeah.
All right, and I believe that is why it's important to have organizations such as this, because this is actually where we get everybody together. You have all your conglomerates, you have all your suppliers, and you have all these experts sharing their ideas. And that is it for our question and answer portion for today. And thank you so much to our esteemed panelists. You may now go back to your seats. Of course, let's give them a big hand. Great job, everyone.